Do you think the influx of expats will drive up rental pricing in Merida? I mean, as time go by, costs increase. Yes, it will. And that's going to be no matter where you go. And that's going to be forever. Same thing with Colombia. Same thing with Thailand. Same thing with Vietnam. As more and more expats make it, costs are going to go up. That will never change. But that's when it becomes important for you to get clever. You choose not to live in the areas where the expats at. For example, I'm gonna tell you what. So Mo took us to this restaurant in this place called Uman, 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 and we went there and had a full meal. All me, the spouse, the kids. Man, each of us had a full course meal, a full meal entree, and then we ordered an extra entree just because we wanted to see what it tasted like. And then I ordered 4 alcoholic beverages because it was cheap. And the kid ordered 2 Sprites. They would normally never drink 2 Sprites, but we were there for like 4 hours. So we just sit there talking. Us, Mo, and a few other families. And so 4 entrees plus an extra entree, 4 beers, and I had a Coke as well. Kids had 2 Sprites. Then they ordered some extra fries, and I had a coffee, and all of that was $19. Now, mind you, it would have been cheaper than that if we didn't have all those extra drinks. The meal probably would have been like $10. It was all them extra drinks. So that was in a town called Uman, 30-minute drive from Merida. So even though folks come to Merida and fill it up and drive prices up, you got places like Uman, 30 minutes up the road, ain't no expats over there. I was blown away by Uman. And I was like, when my kids leave, I'm going to look into Uman. You know what I mean? Now, obviously, it doesn't make sense for me to be driving from Uman to taking my kids to ballet class 6 days a week. But Uman got the infrastructure. Uman, nice, beautiful city. Further away, still safe. From what I saw, I live in Uman all day. Probably going to go out on a limb and probably say you can find some houses in Uman for $150 a month. I want to go visit Uman and do some walking tours in Uman and look at some real estate in Uman to show you. So don't get caught up on the idea that Merida has to be the spot. You got some other areas outside of Merida that's just as nice. And it's going to always be less because one is further away and the expats ain't there. Start exploring them cities outside. This is what I'm talking about. You got to get creative. And I'm going to give y'all another tip on what I did to be a little creative for those of y'all that are still here. So, I'm an entrepreneur. I try and think and manipulate things in a way to make it work in my favor business-wise. So, I knew I'll be traveling and bouncing around from different countries. So what did I do? I'm like, okay, my goal is to cut costs, cut expenses, reduce my tax liability, make things work in my favor. And so you start to figure this out for yourself and how you can do this. So I figured, since I'm gonna be traveling, let me start a travel business. Let me start a travel brand so I can write all my expenses off. That includes the rent on this house. That includes the rental car that I'm renting. That includes some of the food it costs, clothes, all of this. So I formed an LLC, Move Abroad and Thrive is a corporation, a limited liability company. It's a business. It's a legitimate business, has its own tax identification number, has its own bank account, has it's its own entity. Based on the way the IRS works, don't quote me on this because I might have the years wrong, but I have a good doggone accountant who looks after this stuff for me. I don't have to make a profit on this business for at least 3 out of 5 years. I don't have to make no money. I got like 3-4 years before I have to make some money. It doesn't even have to be profitable. I just have to make some money. So because I'm thinking this thing through in advance, I created an entity, a business entity, where as I travel, all these expenses I've incurred, my visas, tourist visas, prices, extensions, when I get ready to get my permanent residency visas, all of this stuff become write-offs, deductible. Remember, I don't have to make a profit. I don't have to make no money the first few years this business is business. I just have to prove that it's a real business. I've had people pay me for consultations. Now the business is real. It's legit. It's a legitimate business. I have a product, Move Abroad and Thrive Academy. That's the product of the business. My consultation fees, that's the product of the business. So this travel is now free. It doesn't cost me anything. So think about, as you plan your escape, how can you turn it into a business? That's why I make all these videos all the time. This is my Move Abroad and Thrive brand. This is my Move Abroad and Thrive channel. This is my platform. This is the platform for the business. In fact, my YouTube channel, specifically for Move Abroad and Thrive, in about 2 months, it will be enough money coming in from the ads, from Google's AdSense program. That money, specifically from this channel, from these videos I make walking around town, will pay my rent every month. So in about 2 more months, my last check was $400. Ain't a whole lot of money in the United States, but in about 2 to 3 months, I should be right at about $569, maybe $600. That pays my rent. It's a legitimate business. Because my rent is cheap, well, let me rephrase that, not cheap, because it's affordable, and I get more money here, and my $569 stretched further here in Mexico and Colombia and other parts of Latin America. I get to keep my YouTube channel, will be paying my rent in about 2 to 3 months. Like I say, my last deposit the other day on the 21st was $400. I know it don't sound like a lot, but that's over half my rent. By the end of the year, by the end of 2022, I should, if I wanted to keep that car, that rental car, it'll pay for that. Some folks like, man, why don't you just buy a car? Well, technically it ain't gonna be coming out of my pocket. I get to write it all off. It's a business expense. I need the car to go around the different areas. I'm gonna need the car to go to Uman and record Uman.